lunch with me today. This is Lunch with Laura. Sorry, I've had a little bit of trouble getting on today. I've been fighting off mosquitoes. I'm outside, so I'm usually outside, but today they've just been, anyway, I've got some of my kind of citronella stuff, my lemon oil, so I'm hoping that's going to keep me safe. All right, today we're going to be talking about a black woman's dilemma, dating. Oh my goodness. I came across a Wall Street Journal article. I've been doing research for a webinar that I'm putting together, and it says interracial fix for black marriage. And I said, interesting. That's kind of along the lines that I'm more partial to be honest. I don't believe that black women should limit themselves to just black men. But this is pretty much with what Ralph Richard Banks had to say. He's the author of this article, and he's interviewing this young lady named Audrey, and he comes across these statistics that said the most unmarried group of people in the U.S. are black women, and it says nearly 70%, 70% of black women are unmarried, and it spans all these socioeconomic group. It doesn't matter if she's a part of the janitorial staff of a school. It doesn't matter if she is the CEO of a Fortune 100 company. She is still a part of the largest unmarried population in the U.S. Amazing. And it's saying 3 out of 10 college black educated women haven't married by the age of 40. One other important thing is the author pretty much says he's convinced of 2 facts. One of them is that black women are confronted with the worst relationship market group because of economic and cultural forces that are not of their own making. And the second thing is that they have needlessly worsened their situation by limiting themselves to only black men. I was like, wow. So his fix is kind of along the lines with mine, is, they need to open up their sphere of what they consider to be attractive and who they believe that will find them attractive. And so if they do that, that will help to go a long way, is what this particular gentleman is saying. So if you have a comment, if you're watching live or if you're watching the tape version of this, I would love to hear from you. I love to talk about controversial subjects, so if you have a comment, if you say, I'm not African American, I'm not black, but I think that this applies to me too because I'm over, 40, or I'm over 50, or I'm a part of this particular group of people, or my religious beliefs are this and that, so that means that I'm limited to X, Y, and Z, and that's why, the people, the same group of people that I'm a part of also are facing this type of problem, that we have a very, very low chance or low rate of marriage because of whatever. But if you are a woman of color, please feel free to leave a comment here. I'd love to hear from you. And also, not even just for this topic, other topics that you would like to hear me talk about for Lunch with Laura, I would love to hear from you because I want to serve you. I want to serve this community. Okay, so what do you think? What do you think? I mean, a lot of it is educational and economic because, if you get to the college level and above, black women pretty much outpace black men about 2 to 1 as far as having a college degree and above that. And so that plays an important part because, I've been talking to different men of color, black men, who said, we feel like we can't do anything for a black woman, then it really hinders the relationship. It really cuts them off at the knees and makes them feel like they're not able to pull their own weight, or they're not able to ever really satisfy and be that hero that some black men want to, that a lot of black men want to be. Not all of them, unfortunately, but neither of any other people group do we have all men who really want to fit more traditional roles as far as relationships and gender roles and financial responsibility, parenting responsibility, all of those things. It's, you're always going to find some who have a different view, have a different agenda. But let's just, come back again and focus on relationships between black men and black women and how that relates to the marriage pool, the group of eligible men that black women feel that they have available to them, and how that plays into dating, how that plays into how they feel about themselves. One thing I really found interesting was when he was interviewing this young lady. She said that she is, I believe, a Stanford-educated woman, and I don't remember. Oh, she's a lawyer. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He talks about Cecilia, a corporate lawyer who graduated from Columbia Law School, so she has an Ivy League degree, right? And she married a construction worker, which is fine. But it said that when he relocated from Denver to New York City, where she was, it was a huge strain in the relationship. She didn't mind him being out of work, but he did. He minded the fact that when he moved from Denver, he couldn't find work right away. And he was uncomfortable living on her salary, and so the marriage didn't last. Excuse me, sorry, I know I'm trying to get rid of these mosquitoes. And so, the economic disparity there pretty much, what he's saying, destroyed the marriage relationship. And, this young woman who is Audrey, who is, I believe, from Stanford, she was saying that there was a nice gentleman, a white guy, who expressed interest in her, but she shied away and turned away from that because she said she didn't want to explain about her hair. I was like, wow! She didn't want to explain about the different textures, how she protects her hair at night because she puts on a scarf. Okay, this is in case to some women who may be watching who aren't black women. Okay, look. This is the story, okay, with our hair. Okay, see, you guys are trying to keep the greasies out, right? And we're trying to keep the greasies in, okay? And what I mean by that is our hair is naturally dry. Curly hair is naturally dry. And if you don't protect the ends of it, they will start to split. It'll start to break off. Your hair, the texture of it will not be soft anymore, and it just jacks with your hair. It destroys the health of your hair. So if we have cotton pillowcases or cotton sheets that we're sleeping on, then we have to protect our hair. So we usually cover our hair at night with a scarf. It's usually like a satin or a silk scarf, something soft. So they try to keep the oil on our hair, because when we wash it, we have to put oil on our hair. Depending on that's homemade. I make my own hair oil because I'm allergic to just about everything. So I make my own hair oil with unrefined shea butter, with olive oil, and I have some essential oils. I put in rosemary and peppermint. Rosemary helps promote hair growth, and peppermint to stimulate the circulation, the blood flow to my scalp. Okay, so that's what I use on my hair, just in case you don't know. And so she didn't want to, she was embarrassed, or she felt less than this particular white gentleman who expressed interest in her. She felt like he would reject her as less than attractive because she would have to explain about her hair. That's just amazing to me. And so sad. It's so sad. He probably would have been like, so what, baby? I love you. Or so what, baby? I want to get to know you. But it never got there. It never got there. Wow. Because she was embarrassed and ashamed about her hair and about explaining that to someone who didn't have experience. Or maybe he did, and she just didn't get a chance. Maybe he dated other black women. You just don't know. The article doesn't tell us. And so, if you don't give it a chance, how are you going to know? How are you going to know? And so I don't care, white guy asks me, and I'll be like, yeah, I wear my scarf, and, I wear this and that, and, I'm not going to trip if your hair starts to thin. If you start to have that bald spot on top there, I'm not going to trip out, okay? So, also, too, as we get older, just like other people groups, our hair starts to thin, depending on what we've done to it. If we've been relaxing our hair using chemicals, sometimes, that really wreaks havoc. I know that wreaks havoc on mine, and that's why I'll never straighten my hair again. Ever, ever, ever. I don't care. I'll put hair color in it. I'll do all types of other things. You'll never see me again with straight hair. So, she was embarrassed about that. And then also, too, she felt embarrassed about, she said she wanted to have black babies. And I was like, well, they would still, I'm thinking to myself, they'd still be black babies, if she married, a Hispanic man, an Asian man, a white man. It doesn't matter. Society would still see them as children of color. And so I guess she felt like her children would not, on some level, be accepted by society still, because this article is very recent. I think it's 2013. So this isn't an article from 10, 15, 20 years ago. And so, wow, we still have these dynamics that are stopping black women from believing that they would be attractive to other people groups. And I'm not saying we just have to concentrate on white men. There are other people groups. There are Filipinos. There are, like I said, Hispanics. There are Asian. I went out on a date once with a gentleman who was Native American. There are so many other people groups that if we just change and have a shift in our thinking, if we just start to believe, as the word says, as a man believes, so is he. As we believe as black women, so we'll start to attract that. Some people call it, it's very popular right now, the law of attraction. What you believe, you broadcast out, and it will be what you attract to yourself. Again, I believe that that's a biblical principle that they're kind of relying on. As you believe, as you have a grain of a mustard seed worth of faith. If you start to believe that, you'll reap such a harvest. It's reaping and sowing is really what I believe it is. And so, however you want to frame that argument is fine. I'm just simply saying, try having that shift in your mind of opening up and saying that, I may have Afrocentric hair, but I will still be found as beautiful and attractive and all the things that, that a black man would find attractive in me, other people groups will find attractive in me. I bring value to a relationship. I have gifts and talents that people find attractive. I can do certain things, or the way that I speak, or the way that I think about things, or the love I have for Jesus, other people will find attractive. And it doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter their skin color. It doesn't matter. Now obviously religious beliefs might, play a large part of it. Okay, that's fine. For me, I really don't care, what he looks like. He could be, Hispanic, white, Filipino, Native American, Chinese, doesn't matter. I want to first know, how do you feel about Jesus? That's number one. And number two is, what are you looking for in a relationship? Are you more traditional? Which is really kind of what I'm looking for. How do you feel about Jesus? And are you more traditional? Doesn't mean that I don't contribute to the household financially, or, participate in a large part in the decision-making process. But that's what I'm looking for. And so I think, and again, when I started to shift my mind, again, some people might have heard me say this before. I was married for a long time. I was married for 19 years. I met my ex when I was very, very young. I was 17. He was the only person that I knew. And so when I got divorced 2 years ago, so you can imagine from the time I was 17 up until 2 years ago, okay, I was with the same person. And I'm not saying, hey, celebrate me. I'm just simply saying so you get perspective of how I had to shift my mind, because I didn't have a large dating experience before I got married. And so I had to have a huge shift in my paradigm, in my thinking, in saying, you know what, I don't have to limit myself to black men. And when that happens, when the first time a white guy asks me out, and so just know, try that. If you're open to it, you might just say, you know what, I'll just never, ever, ever, ever be attracted to any people group or any group of men but black men. That's fine if that's your preference. That's fine. I'm not saying that you're a bad person because of that. I'm not. We all like what we like. But I'm just simply saying that I think it will serve women of color well if they open up themselves to other people groups. And it doesn't necessarily have to be white men. It could be other people groups. But for me, I've opened up to all people groups, and I have not excluded black men. I have not excluded them. They're still sexy and desirable to me. They're still wonderful, and many of them have so many wonderful things to offer, so many personality traits and talents and giftings, and the way that they operate in everyday life. They have just a tremendous value that they bring to their families and to their communities, and that's wonderful. And, I can't imagine a situation or a time in my life where I would exclude black men. but I'm certainly not limiting myself. And so I just ask you to really kind of to tell me what you think about that. I hope that maybe one day I'll start to get testimonies from some women of color, some black women who will say, you know what, Laura, I really thought about what you had to say. I really thought about, some of these topics that you think about. And, I've had a shift in my thinking. I've started to believe when I go out to the grocery store, when I go out to pump gas, when I go out to pick up my kids from school, I really started to think that, I'm sorry, mosquitoes. I really started to think and believe that, yes, I really understand. I really started to shift and believe, and I started to date other people groups. And now I'm madly in love, or now I'm married and I have we have a child, or whatever that is. I'd love to hear your testimony, and I'd love to hear about what you think about black women dating other people groups. And I know that some black women are like, well, historically, this people group have done this to us, and this people group have done that to us. I get it, and I could say, the very same thing. I could say, in my history, I suffered horribly at the hands of a man of color, who tried to wound me and did wound me emotionally as a child. And I could say, I can hold that against all black men, but I'm not going to, because that was a choice of that one black man, and he's going to have to answer to that for God, before God, not all other black men. Now, that's not to say that we don't exercise wisdom if we start to see, patterns. If somebody had this experience in their lives and they start acting out in this way, okay, fine. Then, let's put our antennas up and pay attention to what's going on and judge that person, based on what we see and what we understand from them, but not paint a broad brush. And so I just want you to consider that. I think that this gentleman is right on track. I think that gets us a large way down the road. I don't think it solves everything, unfortunately, but I think it helps a whole lot. So I'm in total agreement that, especially with the problem of incarceration with black men, saying that 40% of them have been imprisoned at one time or another, and it's just horrible. So I'm all for it. So expand your horizons, ladies. It's time to do it. Yes. So I hope you enjoyed this Lunch with Laura, and I'll be back tomorrow. And I think Friday what I'm going to do is open it up to Q&A. Anything that you want to ask me about dating, about relationships, about divorce, about moving on after divorce without bitterness, about setting up your life, reinventing yourself, about your finances, how to get you back on your feet, all those things. So Friday is going to be Q&A. So get geared up, get ready to put your questions in the chat feature, and I'd love to hear from you. So take care, enjoy the rest of your lunch. Bye-bye.